to the Fredericksburg Center for the Creative Arts, FCCA, Members Gallery, May 2021 exhibit of 3 artists in paper and threads. The 3 artists are Ginna Cullen, Julihn, and Lorie McCown. I think you'll be excited to see this wonderful display of work, so don't miss coming in person, but enjoy our video.
You know, sometimes a book has surprises. This one I did right at the beginning of the pandemic. I came home and I thought, okay, we're going to do this. And I made these particular images on this paper, and they're dark and they don't look particularly happy. I had a big Sharpie and I just started making lines on it. But then as things got better and we got used to being housebound, I started just doodling on the other side. And so the other side, it looks like I'm a bit more comfortable with what's going on in my life. But again, I love the fact that you can make interesting shapes, you can play with the book. They're meant to be handled, in my books anyway. I like to make them so that they don't necessarily fit well on a shelf, so you have to put them out in a room. For instance, this one can become a circle. It can swing around this way. And inside, if you take the time to play around, the pages actually, if I can get one out here, let's see. Sometimes, even when you make something you've forgotten what you did, I don't know if I can get this one out or not, I'll try. Yeah, here we go. The pages actually are folded inside, so that makes it kind of fun. There's not a lot of text in some of these books because I feel like sometimes the book itself is the piece that's making its own statement. The leather on this is from a stingray, and this is actually where the eye of the stingray would be. And it just sort of, I had to cut the leather a different way, so I had to decal the edges, and I really kind of like the way that one turned out. Sometimes you make things that you like better than others. I think we can all, as artists, appeal to that. Copper is wonderful. I like weaving copper. This has a copper cover, and inside it's sewn, and it has overlays. So there's a lot of interesting artwork inside this particular book. But copper is a wonderful thing to work with. So. And the last one I'm going to talk about right now is this one. Sometimes as artists, when we make things, we're not real sure how they're going to turn out. And I started playing around with these guys, which are really, they are industrial molds. They're used for making steam pipes. And I was trying to think about how could I do something that would make it kind of parrot what the shape of the steam pipe is. And so these pages are all sewn on back and front, and it will close up and become small, but when you open it up, it spirals itself.
Hi, I'm Julihn, and I am a painter that became a collage artist. I started out with painting a background, and then I decided I wanted to add texture and a little more interest to it, so these are some of my works. In this piece I have a variety of different kinds of papers and even some leaves in here. This is a change of seasons painting where we have more of maybe a spring or summer going into a fall to a winter kind of idea. This painting, or in this piece here, I have actually a little house in there, and it's actually from a photograph, but the surrounding woodsy area is all done with printed papers that are tissue papers, and they're layered. This piece here again is just a mix of colors and different designs to create this illusion of kind of a woods with a bridge. And this piece again, the whole background is actually one piece of printed rice paper, and then I've added a lot of texture in here. This piece actually has some wood in it, and again, it's just to create this illusion of a woods. And this piece here, I've added more paint to it to give it a gloss here to make it look icy. And I've just had a lot of fun playing with different textures and paints and to create these landscape paintings. The inspiration for this piece, which is part of my paper doll series, is actually my daughter who does catering, and the title of it is Cheers. And again, I was just playing with cutout paper and paints sort of to create this image. And I'll walk past the other landscape, which is also created with oil pastels, to this piece, which is again inspired by my daughter who does big events. Here it's a hostess and she's all dressed up, and I used a lot of sequins and very sparkly paper and even kind of a marbly effect to create the imagery here. This is kind of a new direction for me, and I'm going to probably be adding to this series as time goes on.
My name is Lorie McCown, and I am a mixed media and textile artist. And I have several pieces here that I've been working on throughout the last year and a little bit before that as well. These 4 pieces were all kind of worked in tandem together. They are layers. I work a lot with recycled and repurposed textiles. I'm a big collector of vintage things, but also cast off things that have been in households and other things that people might not value, and I value them. So I also work a little with photo transfer onto silk, and most of my work is based on stories and storytelling. So I really like to incorporate images, text, texture, color, all in one piece, so it's a little bit of a juggle for me to do that. All 4 of these were done again in sync. I was working on several of them at one time, and I kind of leave the meaning nebulous for people to decide what it's about, because people look at something and that is what they draw from it, not necessarily what I intended it, and I really like that kind of synergy between the artist and the viewer. So a lot of people also like this piece called My Grandmother's Dresses. It's been in several shows and kind of became a hallmark piece for me. It was inspired by obviously my grandmother's dresses, but also the fact that generations of women came before me. Whether they were creative or not, I wish I knew, but sometimes I wonder about their daily struggles and the things they had to deal with. So we're all connected. I did a lot of heavy stitching on the piece as well. And again, a lot of these pieces were taken from actual dresses or textiles that I had from both sides of my family. And then over here, I did a wonderful residency in France a couple years ago, and it was right around the same time as the World War I anniversaries were going on, and the residency happened to be very close to where a lot of the battles were fought in that war. So I took my inspiration from that and went kind of armed with some fabrics and some other things, but I let the residency and the materials tell their own stories. So, and I always love stories of the everyday person, not necessarily the heroes of the stories, but the people who are also in support of those who are involved in whatever the story is. So, and of course, I'm always interested in women's stories, so I'll usually include dresses which denote women in one form or fashion, and also family photos. I love family legacies, when we all have them. And I like to incorporate those into my pieces as well. Again, leaving the story a little nebulous, but a story nevertheless. And I'm always interested in the connectedness of all of those stories.
The Fredericksburg Center for the Creative Arts, where art and history meet.